Well, hello again, and if this video has anyone to credit for it or blame for it, as the case may be, it is John Fly, the great streamer on Twitch and great YouTube artist who said on a stream a couple of days ago how disappointed he was that that he'd received a notification that I had a new video up, and all it was a 30-second test video that I'd done for Rush at Aerosim Gaming, because he was raging about X-Plane's crosswind handling, which modeling, I mean, which truly sucks. But he had expressed his disappointment, so just to show John that I'm not a complete and utter slacker, here we are. We're on the ground at Castlegar here, CYCG, or Charlie Yankee, Charlie Golf, if you happen to be frugal sim. And I do that every time. Yeah, I do that every time because he takes inordinate relish in the alphanumerics, I suppose, in the phonetic alphabet, and I don't know why that is, but it's really stupid, because that is the language we speak, and I shouldn't mock it, and I shouldn't mock him because he does good videos, and I've learned a lot from him, but it's my little weakness, I suppose. I don't know why all these ambulances are standing by. There's one over here, and there's one over this way, just a little bit above us, right back there. I suppose it reflects poorly on my piloting skills, but anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to take a little short loop here from Castlegar, which, as you can see, is surrounded by some pretty spicy terrain, down to Spokane, to Feltz Field. And Spokane is really more Idaho than Washington State. It's eastern Washington, bordering on the desert. And it's just a nice little field. Pardon me for the lack of anti-aliasing. It's just in case we fly into clouds, because as you can see right now, the frames are great. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just bump up the AA just a little bit, and you'll see it's still good right now. But if we should ever happen to hit some clouds, it will choke. X-Plane will. And here, let me just show you how good it can look. I'm just going to crank the sucker all the way up here to whatever that is. And now you can see it looks a lot better. And what it's doing basically is it's rendering 8 frames for every one. And when you start rendering clouds, that can get really, really bad. So I'm just going to leave it here for the moment, and if we start to get low frames, I'll move it even lower, but that should be pleasant enough. At any rate, my absence, I don't know if I let everybody know. I don't think I did. I spilled a beverage on my gaming rig, which is not good for a gaming rig. And it promptly died in protest, and in a fit of complete and utter pique, I bought an iMac Pro, and this was my justification. One, I just gotten a bonus. Two, it had basically the equivalent of a 5900X in it, so that's 10 cores, and it can clock up to about 4.5 gigahertz, so that was certainly fast enough. And even though it had a Radeon 64 instead of a 1080, it was a Radeon 64 with 16 gigs of RAM. And what I had discovered, especially flying in the Los Angeles, New York, Boston area, is that it was easy to get the textures up to above 11 or 12 gigabytes, and it was sometimes up to the point where it was 15. And my hypothesis was that having enough VRAM was to some extent more important than having a fast GPU. or at least the fastest GPU, and it turns out that that was pretty much right. And the iMac Pro shredded. It did really, really well. The problem is it only did well in the Mac OS version of X-Plane, which wouldn't have been a problem except that my beautiful control loading yoke, or control yoading loke, didn't work on that. And the nice folks at Brunner basically said, meh, we don't care. And the extent of their technical support was, meh, read the fucking manual. And of course, the manual has nothing to say about running it on a Mac because their software doesn't run on the Mac. Their connector plugin runs on the Mac, but the actual software for controlling and setting the yoke doesn't. And they would not help me get it set up on a virtual machine. And my only alternative then, the only supported method it seems, was to run it on a second machine. So I had a little crappy sort of mini bogus NUC floating around, and I'm just doing a little control system check right here. And sure enough, it did work, and video capture worked on that other machine, but all of a sudden I had two machines, and I didn't want two machines. And then I tried the whole thing on Boot Camp with Windows, and Boot Camp with Windows runs fine on the iMac Pro, but the AMD drivers suck eggs. And so I was left with a computer that I love in every other respect. It's beautiful, it's well made, it looks good in my room, it doesn't take up much space, it's fast as hell. It is so much less trouble than a Windows machine, you wouldn't even believe it. However, for flight simulating purposes, at least for all-around flight simulating purposes, it just didn't work. So anyway, here we are, back in the mighty SAAB. If Brunner's customer service was shitty, I believe that's the term for it, as much as I love their hardware. No, I won't say shitty. It was indifferent, or oblivious, or maybe there was a language barrier, or I don't know what. But it seemed like they didn't give a rat's ass, and I finally got an email back from them about a problem I raised about 6 weeks ago, and the email basically told me to fuck off, and very politely too. I was very polite with them. But if their customer service was shitty, Apple's was exemplary. I bought the machine. Basically, even though they wouldn't let me bring a copy of X-Plane, by the way, we're just admiring the new 1.5 version of the leading edge SAAB, and you can see from reflections under here, they've made it more or less X-Plane friendly, X-Plane 11 friendly. You can see the reflections and everything. It's very nice. But if Brunner was relatively shitty, Apple was wonderful. They said, I'm sorry, we can't let you load things onto our rigs at the store, but you're welcome to buy the machine and you can return it in 15 days. And I said, you know, even a $5,000 machine? And they said, sure. And I said, even a $5,000 machine that I built to order? And they said, sure. And so I said, well, I got to warn you, I might do that. And they said, fine. And sure enough, I did it. And I really wanted to keep it, but can't. And they said, okay, fine, no problem. They cheerfully refunded me $5,000 some for this machine. And I ended up just getting another Windows gaming rig that I put together. And, you know, as much as I dislike Windows, this seemed to work fine. And so here we are. So anyway, we're going to go from here in Castlegar down to Feltzfield. And we'll just, you know, to make the trip interesting enough, we will fly well, we won't be flying out to Coeur d'Alene. That's kind of not right, but we're basically going to be flying almost right onto the approach. And if I can just pop up our Navigraph charts, we will fly to not there. There we go. We will fly, since there's no real airway, we'll fly direct, and we will fly direct to, let me just look at our ILS here for 22 right. We will fly actually direct to Coeur d'Alene, so Coeur d'Alene to Astem, let me just get that right, Astem to Dysa, to Hanson, to Lotsa, to Islay, so that's correct. And we will do that since we are flying, it's almost due south, but not quite. Since we're flying ever so slightly to the east, we will fly at flight level 190, so 19,000 feet. We'll do it, and let's get going. It's not a complicated flight, but the departure out of here is. The airport does not have a SID, but because of the terrain, it's got an obstacle departure procedure, which calls for not one, but two, count them, two NDBs. So my NDB flying skills are, let's see, piss and poor, but we'll do what we can, and as you can see, the procedure is to climb visually west of the airport. So we're going to depart on runway 34 and make an immediate left turn, and we will climb to 4,800 at least, and that is going to be on a track of 167 from the YK NDB until we get to 7,000 feet, and then we're going to make another left turn basically around the racetrack, and then we're going to head back over the airfield and to the Castlegar NDB until we get to 10,000 feet, and then we will continue on our merry way. And let me show you why that is. Why that is pretty simple. We're not there. There we go. We are in a river valley. This is the Kootenai River, and those are obstacles. And so what we're going to do is follow a procedure that will take us over the fat and flat part of this river valley. You can see all this right here, out to about there, and then it is going to turn us to the left, and you see by that point we'll be over this. It's going to turn us to the left, and it is going to bring us back within this valley here until we get over that peak right there, and then we should be good to go on. It is a little bit gnarly and a little bit goofy, and I'm spectacularly bad at flying with these little needles right here. But we're going to do the best we can. So before we do anything else, let me just get our levers where they need to be, and that is in ground idle and start, and that is good. Let's also turn on our nav light because we're going to be on power starting in 1 second. Let's get those from override to on. Kill our caution right there. Come back up. Get our gens on. Flip them right there like that. Okay, that's good. Turn on our beacon because we're going to be starting shortly. The other thing we need to do is load some fuel. And we don't need a ton of fuel. We've got more than enough there. And I think we're a little heavy. But you know what? Well, I don't have my weight table in front of me, but on a 5,200 foot runway, this is going to be a little bit tricky, but it should be okay. Let's see what the altimeter X plane is reporting here. Is 3015, okay. But in the meantime, let's check our battery, make sure we have enough voltage to start on both, and we do. Check our battery temperatures to make sure we are not going to make anything explode starting, and we won't. We will then proceed to start here. Now, shoot down here, monitor our temps. It's going to be a little bit janky, and that is because although this is modified to work on X-Plane 11, it is not optimized for it, and they keep futzing with the engine model X-Plane Laminar does. So, okay, there's starter cutout, and we're going to just immediately get our asses going here. So we will, because we're at cutout, we'll go first to unfeathered, and we'll count to 10. And you'll notice that our prop will bounce up there, and our temperatures will fluctuate just a little bit, probably more than normal. What we really want to check is make sure we have oil pressure in our prop governor, and that is in the right place. And so, having done that, we'll cycle the left bleed, that'll go out, and we will start number 2. Repeat the procedure, check the temps. It's okay for them to spike for a second, but then they need to come down. If they stay above here, we'll shut off the fuel, but they won't. Okay, and we've cut out there too. And because we do, we can move this one up, same spot. We can move this one up to min. And again, observe the prop governor. It bounces up and down and then should settle down right there. And it does, and while we're at it, geez, this is the beauty of the SAAB here. Check our hydraulic quantity, and it's fine. Our pressure may be low because we're not started yet, but let's just give it a shot. Put that on override there. Now we've got pressure. Okay, that's good. And we can reset this bleed, come down here again. We can move this one up to min. Okay, then we can get our avionics on. First, let me just arm our emergency lights. Remind people to sit down. Turn on our standby pitot heat. Check our gens, make sure they're given juice. And they are. Come on. Okay, that's good. Get our avionics on. It's cold in here, by the way. Okay, reset our gens. In a second, these lights should all go out. There we go, as predicted. And let's get in a route. Now, the problem that a lot of people are having with this plane is they're doing this. They're starting up the GNS 530, and let me just wait till it gets through its lawyer screens here. So it'll get to the point it'll ask you to say OK. Right there. So you'll hit OK, and much to your dismay, the screen goes blank and there's nothing you can do about it. Well, they at Leading Edge need to fix it. They haven't fixed it yet. They've acknowledged the problem. They're going to fix it. This is 1.5. They'll fix it in 1.51. The way you get around it, somebody else discovered this, I did not. Let me just make sure my tiller works, and it does, is you get a little plugin called Data Ref Editor, and you just show the data refs, and what's happening is data refs are sort of the both the command set, the internal command set, and also the way X-Plane talks to the outside world. So you can set a data ref and it'll do something in the plane, or it will spit out a data ref and that will tell you something about what's going on. There is a data ref in here called Sim Cockpit Avionics or something like that, and it is not setting it on. And these avionics go on because their own logic and their own programming, but this little guy and the GTN 750 does not. So we have to look for Sim Cockpit. There are a million of these things. Avionics, here we go, Avidyne, Sim Cockpit. Oh, don't tell me. Oh, if I have to look this up again. There's Sim Aircraft, Sim Airfoil. These are all the sort of commands that are active running right now. And it is not there. All right, now, I'm sorry, I have to look this up here. So what I have to do is go to there we go, Xpilot. There we go. All right. Garmin 530. And that's not it. We'll find it. GPS rarely working. I think this is it. There we go. Sim Cockpit Electrical Avionics. There we are. Sim Cockpit Electrical. Now watch what happens. You see how this says on equals 0? That basically means it's off. So you just click on this little sucker and you change it to 1 and watch what happens. Boom. Okay, so now we've got a Garmin and we're good there. But we're not really satisfied yet because we want to get our GTN 750 going. So what we want to do is just turn this the hell off, and there we go. All right, so there we are. And we have a CDI, and that's good. Okay, good. So we'll get a flight plan going here. And that is Kilo Sierra Foxtrot Foxtrot. Boom. And boom. And load procedures. And approach. And here we go. ILS 22 right. Load approach. Okay. And I really want to correct transition. Let's Coeur d'Alene is where we're coming in. There we go. So we don't have to do anything fancy. Yes, it's entertainment, and that's cool. Okay, there we go. So basically, we're basically direct. It says not Coeur d'Alene. We should be direct Coeur d'Alene, so let's go to insert after and COE Coeur d'Alene. All right, now that should make more sense. All right. see if we got une ligne magenta. Yeah, we do. Okay, good. Excuse me. Long day. And we're still on the ground. All right, so there we go. And we're in GPS mode. We're going to be squawking Kubrick and in mode Charlie and standby, but we don't want it standby. We want on. Come on. All right, well, let's just turn it on the old-fashioned way. There we go. On there and on here. Good. All right, and what did we say for the altimeter here? It is 3016. All right, this is important because we don't want to smash into anything. So we will set that to 3016. There we go, and let's figure out why our Garmin is not making the nice noises we want it to. Plug in. All right, settings. Let's see, that's correct. Let's see whether we have the Bitch and Betty here. Female, yes. Okay, good. All right, so let's get a flight. Let's get ready to get on our flight plan is actually what I mean. And to do that, we have to tune in our NDBs here. And so it's YK and then CG. And I believe one of them is 269, the other one's 227, but I just don't remember which. So we will zoom back here. And all right, 269 is CK and 227. All right. So there is our 269 and 227. Okay, that is our right here. And what we want to do is climb on out of here in a left turn to the west of the airport, and we want to hold a track of 167 and then 177 when we cross it. So let's see, the best way to do that is to, well, first of all, the heading bug moves here, but I have a problem, which is, let's see if it still is a problem. Yes, you see there's no check box here for the heading select pop-up. See, if I set course here, it pops up a little box, and normally it pops up a heading box too. But, all right, we can't have it all, so what we'll do is we'll set a heading of, let's see, we want to be on the 167 bearing from YK, and so the 167 bearing is going to be, we're going to make a left turn, and we're going to try and point our nose actually right where the tail is here. And that is about right. And so let's just set a heading of a little bit more than 167. Okay, we're in heading mode. We don't really want that. We want to be in a climb mode, and we want to be at climb 140. That is good. And heading select mode, and we want to be about, let's see, 167. We want to be about 170. So we'll set that. Here, our heading bug. Okay. There we go. And let us get our taxi lights on, and everything else is good. I'm going to leave the bleeds on. All right, I'm not going to do anything else until we start heading out to the runway. We're going to fly flaps 15. Off the deck. We should use up almost all the runway if my calculations or my back of the seat calculations are fine. And let us get going. And I'm shivering here in my apartment. This is really bad. I'm wearing a sweater and all sorts of other layers, but all right, so our procedure is going to be to get on the autopilot as soon as possible to make a climbing left turn, and then to track this right here and keep the needle right about where it is. So we're going to set as high an altitude as we really want, because we're not restricted. We're not expected to stop anywhere. We're expected to climb everywhere because of how dangerous the terrain is all around us. Shouldn't be yawning because that signifies I'm bored. I am most certainly not. It's just that there's some construction going on in the building next door to me, so there's always pounding when I'm supposed to be sleeping because the hours I work. But anyway, let's turn on our taxi lights. They're on. That is all cool. Let's get some lights in the panel here. Okay, they are cool. And let's bring our props up to max and get going. We'll arm our CTOT here, and we're going to be wanting a little more than 100% torque. Those things on. And our altitude is set on the MCP. That's good. Okay, and we're enunciating climb at 141. Heading mode, that's all correct. Our two NDBs are tuned in. And let's head out to the runway. Make sure our tiller is engaged. And we're just sort of squeaking our way out of here. Alright, there we go. We're going to taxi almost all the way to the end and then backtrack. There's a lot of mowing going on here, I've noticed. There's our magnificent hydraulics. so let's look at our ADF needle here. So yeah, essentially the way we're going to be flying, let's get stuck in beta here. The way we're going to be flying is we're going to make a climbing left-hand turn, and then we're basically going to put the nose of the airplane right about here, correcting for wind if we can. And honestly, I don't know if we can. We're going to be in heading mode and on autopilot as soon as we can, because we really want to decrease the workload. This is one of those moments where if you're a single pilot, the autopilot really is your friend. You know, there's some people who try to be hard guys here, but it doesn't really work. All right, so we'll get out on the runway here. Actually, before we do that, we'll stop. And we will get our lights on. Exit lights off, strobes on. All right, that should be good. And wouldn't you know it? This is difficult. There we are. All right, there we are. Almost all lit up. All right, X-Plane's ground handling is never the greatest, either very fast or very slow, doesn't matter, it doesn't work. Okay, that end is clear. This end is clearly clear. Do a little southwest taxiing here, if we can. I knew I should have had that extra cup of coffee, but I didn't. My own damn fault. All right, now this may seem like a very long runway right now, but I can guarantee you it's not. Last I checked, it was 5,200 feet, although it should be 8,200 feet, but it could be because of construction or trees or something like that. I don't know. What I do know is it's set in some beautiful terrain and it has some very interesting approaches. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cheat towards the right here, so we don't have to turn as sharply coming up. Okay. Let's turn ourselves around on this. Oh, those are lights. I thought those briefly were sheep. But I think I have the deer and sheep turned off. All right, so we're taking off against the wind, which is fine. We're doing this to sabotage ourselves, basically. We really are. We're doing this to make our lives somewhat unpleasant. And around we go. All right, let's see if we can game this out in our head here, or our heads, whichever the case may be. Okay, we'll set the parking brake there. And again, we are going to be turning around almost 180 degrees, so we will set our heading bug here to right about there, maybe a little bit more to account for the wind, And let's see how we make do. Before we do that, let's check here. We're gonna turn on the engine anti. No, you know what? We're not really close enough. So we'll turn on none of that. We will check this. That's cool. Check that. That's cool. That's cool. Check our caution panel. It is dark. That's good. And I think we're about ready to go. Now, the way the CTOT works here is that you advance the throttles to a certain level and then it just grabs it and automatically rams it up to where you've set. And it is very, very good for this plane. It's a little bit weird for some people who are trying it off the first time, but it really is not as hard as it looks. It's just a poor man's auto throttle. So with that, lights, camera, and action, as they say. I see in a second the torque will pop up to almost maximum there. That is good. We're going to rotate at about 110, climb out at about 120. And you can see we're not exactly heavy on runway here, so rotate. Come on, there you go. And we'll go gear up right now. Turn here. And we will now follow the flight director. We'll actually do a slightly steeper than normal turn. And we'll look down here and we will want this to be on about the 167. So we're going to turn this here, and we're going to climb a little more steeply here, and we're going to try and bring this back in. Okay, now once we get to 7,000, we're going to turn back in the other direction here. And I'm just slowly trying to pull this back a little bit. So you pull on the tail, you push on the head. Let's see if we can make this work. Slowly working its magic here, and you can see we're still over the valley, which is where we want to be. And let me see if I'm doing this backwards. No, it's coming. Alright, we're 800 away from our turn. And I'm just doing this without the autopilot right now. As a matter of fact, there's my cue for the flight director. There we go. Let's turn off the flight director here. It's distracting us. Alright, so there we are. That's about 167. We'll fly outbound on that. And you can see that that puts us right over there. All right, here comes 7. And now what we're going to do is we're going to flip over our NDB right here. Let's first of all get ourselves wings level. And we're going to flip our NDB right now to 227. And we're going to turn, again, a climbing left turn, just to keep us over the valley. And we're going to turn back to about 330 until we get to 10,000 feet. And again, you can see it keeps us free and clear of terrain. Just trim down a little bit. Bring up our flaps. Keep climbing. And come on around here, and we're going to have to actually turn a little bit past here. I just blew through that turn just a little bit. Okay, we're 2,000 to go, and we want to push the head of this to 330. And then fly towards it. Okay, that's right, a little bit more. And you can see, again, it takes us over the valley. Keeps us away from the bad stuff. All right, so there we go. Now we're over temping a little bit, so what we'll do is we'll turn off our CTOT. That's going to bring our torque down. We'll adjust it a little bit. And we just overshot our turn just a little bit. Fortunately, we're almost where we need to be. And we're 1,000 to go. And we can get up our Garmin here. Now you notice we're flying almost precisely backwards here, and you can see that on the HSI. That is fine. Let's keep our climb coming. Get rid of that. And we're temp, not torque limited. Let's get on instruments here. And we're just a little bit to the left of our course, but fortunately we're out of the soup. And so what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to nav, and we're going to get our flight director on, and we're going to switch our climb to 180, and we're going to fly up to the bars right there. We're going to come on, and we're going to re-intercept our nav track. Just going to retrim a bit here. Make sure our gear is up, and it is. Flaps are up, and they are. And around we go. So now we're just going to come in, and we're going to reacquire this right here. And I'm just flying this plane myself, although I must say I'm a little bit out of trim, and I'm certainly a little bit out of practice. But that's pretty damn cool. And you can see, well, you can't see, but I'm hands off right now. And we're just going up, and we're not going up fast enough, so let's just slow our climb down a little bit. So let's climb at 140. So I'm just going to pop that climb button there. There's 160. Well, let's see how 160 gets us. And now you can see we're intercepting our track. And again, I'm hands off, and nothing is happening to the airplane. That is exactly as it should be. The airplane should not try to kill you. And hand flying it should be, if not a walk in the park. It should be fairly easy. So now, in a second, you'll see here that we are to the left of our course. We're still practically over the airport. And again, the whole point of the exercise was to get us above all of that. So there we go. And you can see by following the flight director bars, we're holding that speed because we're in indicated airspeed climb, or close to it. I'll just put it here. That's fine. And I'll just trim, and now we've got a little speed bogey too, so we can, you know, we can either look at that or we can look at this. This is telling us we're slightly fast, and so if we climb into it, here's what happens. In a second, if I climb up a bit more, trim up a little bit, this will decay, and that will go down to there. It is very, very slow because we are barely above that speed. There we go. So now it is approaching that bug speed. And we are in cloud right now, and we are minus 13. We're right in icing territory, so I can do all this upper panel stuff. Let me just get our autopilot on, hold it right there. And the other thing we can do is we can bring our props back a little bit. We can bring them back to about 12-ish, 13-ish. Can climb at that. That'll give us a little more performance because we're taking a little bit bigger bite out of the air. You see right there, we are now acquiring our nav course. Let me just turn this bearing needle off. That is totally irrelevant. And now you can see we're tracking almost directly away from Castlegar, going southeast, or south-southeast to be more accurate. And let's take care of all the other stuff. So our 10,000 foot check. I didn't do this ritualistically because we were busy flying the plane, and that's much more important, especially in mountain terrain. That can come off, strobe can stay on, that's all fine. At the moment, let's just turn on our engine anti-ice. Let's look outside actually, see if we've got any ice on the wings. Alright, we do not, so I'm not going to bother with anything else. We're kind of in between clouds here. And again, we're climbing up to 17. Our rate of climb is piss poor. Our wind is pushing us this way, hence we're crabbed this way. And again, you notice there are the temps, there's the torque. We've got gobs and gobs and gobs of headroom for the torque, but we're almost out of engine headroom. So let's just bring the props back just a little touch more and bring the power up just a little bit. I'm just going to wiggle that up and just get the, I'm now setting the power not by this but by this. So, and I just want to get as much performance as I can out of it. We're only 1,400 feet away, but you know, no sense in going too slow. After all, we're not paying for fuel. All right, so let's brief the arrival because we're going to be getting there soon enough. And then you can see just how shitty I am at landing. Although this plane is very easy to land, but it's a little bit bouncy. All right, so we'll come to Coeur d'Alene, and there's 1,000 feet away. Let's just check, make sure everything's okay. And we're going to be flying local altimeter all the way. I didn't realize that, so we should probably check en route altimeters here. And we're somewhere around here. And there are no weather reporting stations anywhere as far as I can tell. Let's see if there's anything close. No, but let's see. Coeur d'Alene is going to be 3016. It's almost identical. Oh, Phelps Field is clearing up. Damn it. Although there's 200 foot overcast, but it's clear above it, and that's probably some sort of ground fog. Wind is calm. 3014, so it's no big difference. All right, so we are going to have to be at 7100 at Coeur d'Alene. And how far are we from Coeur d'Alene? Well, we can find out here. It looks like we're 79 miles. Let's make sure that's our next waypoint, and it is. Make sure we've got an approach in. We do. Okay, and it's loaded but not activated, and that's fine. All right, so Coeur d'Alene is in 75 miles. We need to come down 10,000, actually 9,900 feet, but 10 is close enough. Actually 9 is close enough, so 9,000 feet and 300 foot per mile. And so we need to come down 9,000 times 3 is 27 miles. And so we need to start hitting the descend at well, about 50 miles from here, so at about 27. Oddly enough, but we also need some time to decelerate, so let's make it 30. So at DME 30, or not at DME, but at 30 from this point, we will start coming down the hill. I believe it's courteous enough to already program in our ILS frequency, but let me just, our localizer frequency, yes, 221, but you know what we're going to do is we will set a course here of 221. You see the little upper left-hand corner pop up, and we'll also set 110.7 in our standby here. Sorry, 111.7, you see. Okay, that will serve two purposes. The other one thing is it will set us up for a Category 2 approach, which we don't have, but we can pretend we do. And the other thing is, well, first of all, let me check our frames here. The other thing, as we turn on our prop sync, the other thing it will do is it will let us glance out this way even when we're on GPS and see where we are with respect to localizer. So course number 2, 221, set that up. The reason why these knobs are down here instead of on the MCP is because this is a SAAB, and this is where SAAB automobiles have their ignition key. All right, so there we go. That is set, and actually while we're at it, let's just do this. Let's get rid of our bearing needle there. And, all right, there we go. And now that we're looking at clouds here, let's see how this stuff is rendering here. It's not too bad. All right, so we're good to go here. Our attitude is a great reference, a great sanity check for our power settings and our speed. If we were slowing down, our nose would be up here on this, and then all of a sudden we'd worry about dropping out of the sky. Now you notice our wings are a little bit into the wind, into the left, and that is because my rudder trim is just a little bit off. But since there's no scribe here, it's very hard to tell. All right, understood. Cranbrook scenery won't load. That's fine, we don't care. And we're still getting good 60 frames. And you notice there's an obstacle illusion here. It looks like we're climbing because of this, and we're not. You know, this is why you fly on instruments. The problem here is that my rudder trim is a little bit wonky. Let me just see if I can level this out a little bit. Using the rudder trim, we should. Alright. We've got a solid 29 knot crosswind from directly to our right, so that's probably give us a little shove. And like magic, there's no weather anymore. All right. Anyway, we're over some ortho scenery now, I believe. Or we're getting close to it. Yep, there it is. And actually, you know what? We've flown out of a big cloud bank, so maybe that is correct. Look at that. And now if you look with respect to the horizon, we're flying level, but if you look with respect to that cloud bank, it kind of looks like we're flying nose up, and of course we're not. So trust the instruments, unless they're broken. All right, we're chugging along. I don't think we can make ourselves go faster, primarily because we're almost running out of temp here, and actually we're 25 miles from TOD, so it hardly matters, but let's just see if we can eke a little more speed out of this. I'm just going to bring the props down as far as I can bring them. And I'm going to bring the power up as high as I can bring it without over-temping. So that'd be right about there. All right, let's see what kind of speed we can get here. All right. And let's see what our ground speed is. It's 265. It's hardly bad. All right, and as you can see, there we are. All right, so 314 is our local altimeter, and I guess we're close enough. So let's just get that set. And because we're good pilots, let's set it over here too. Okay, we can be considerate. That's our approach course. Now let's brief the rest of the approach. The missed approach is left turn to 200, and then it's gonna fly us to, let's see, to Spokane on, we're going to intercept, we're going to fly at 253. Alright, so climb through to 300, left turn 5000, heading 200, then inbound on the 073, and the 073 plus 180 is 253, and yes, that is 253. Let's tune in Spokane, 115.5. Matter of fact, let's just keep it here in 115.5. We'll keep it inactive on this side and standby on this side. But before we do that, we'll put our localizer in active, and 115.5. All right, so now what we can do is we can use our nav2, VOR2. There we go, we're 56 miles away from the field. And the other thing we can do is if we immediately need to navigate to this, we can actually just click on this, and that will start drawing from the right-hand side nav. We're not going to do anything right now, and besides, we're psychologically committed to landing, so screw that. All right, let me get rid of that for you. And if I haven't already, watch John Fly's Twitch stream. He's got better ortho than this even. Although, let me just look at this, and I'll do my best John Fly impersonation. Oh baby, oh baby, oh baby, oh snack. I've never heard him utter a profanity, which makes him a better man than I. And I've never seen him take a drink. If I had to hazard a guess, I'd say that makes him more Mormon than I, but I'm not sure. I know he lives in, I think he lives in the Salt Lake City area. I know he flies out of there a lot. Maybe, but I don't know. Since this is more an aviation than a theological stream, both mine and his, I'm not sure it matters one bit, so screw that. I could probably utter a profanity here. Anyway, when we descend, I've been unable to make this little twiddly knob actually work, which will affect our vertical speed. So I can't really use VS mode. So I've been using IAS mode and then just setting target speeds and adjusting the power levers to match. Let's see, we're going down to 7100, so let's just get that set right now. It's not going to do anything till we set a mode, so that's fine. You see it's in altitude capture mode. So 7100 at Coeur d'Alene. Let me just check my chart here. 7100 to ASTIM to 5700 to DISA, 4300. Wow, that's pretty high IAF, but that's cool. Intercept a localizer somewhere around here, actually here if we can, and it provides a nice table. And is it a 3.6 degree slope and I don't know it? I do believe it is. All right, well that's cool. And our minimum is, God, I'm losing my mind here. I'm used to reading FAA charts, not Jefferson's charts, but the minimums are, those are the distances, there's circle land, there's MDA, there we go, 2227 or 270 feet. And there we are, we're at TOD, so let's go. IAS mode, roll off the power. It is going to hold the speed we have bugged right there, which is 200 and change, and then it will come down. Now, to come down on a 3-degree glide path, since our ground speed is about 270 knots, we need to be coming down at about 1,300 feet per minute, so we're going to go below that, but that's okay. We want to be a little bit optimistic here because we want to allow time to level off and slow down as well. Okay, we're good. Let's see where we are with respect to the field. We're 43 miles out. We've still got a massive wind. Our weather is still wind calm, 3014. Okay, everything's cool. Let's turn on our seatbelt sign, and everything else is cool. We'll set our auto course in when we turn final. And you can see why there's a 7100 minimum. There's some foothills here, but it's nothing onerous. Okay. What's so onerous about sharks with lasers strapped to their backs? I'm asking you. All right, we have no icing, and so let's just turn off our engine anti-ice. And everything else is nominal. And we're descending to plan. As a matter of fact, we're a little bit optimistic here. So let's see. We've got 18 to go, and we've got well, we've got 6,000 feet. So 18 and 6 is about right. But we're descending a little bit more steeply. Now our ground speed's going to slow down, the air is going to get thicker, and let's just see what we're grounding at. They're at 259. All right, We are not picking up, oh, we are picking up our localizer. Will you look at that? Wow. That is lovely. All right, which means we should be able to see the field, and if I'm not mistaken, the field should be right about there, but let's just see. Anyway, what we probably want to do then is turn on our lights here, and oh no, I'm sorry, that is not our localizer here. Let's just see if we can get our localizer up here. No localizer yet. That was the 221 radial to Spokane International. So that is obviously not it, and that's very misleading. Let me just put that in there right now, so we get just a better sort of cheat sheet. All right, so I'm going to inch this speed down, and you're going to see it's going to reduce our rate of descent way too much. Unfortunately, I can't do this very gently. This is where vertical speed mode really does come in handy, but I can't, so I'm just going to cheat this down. And the other thing I'm going to do in a second is I'm going to start to bring up our power to our approach power, which is about 25% torque, and that'll be with our condition levers at full. As a matter of fact, let's slow ourselves down that way as well. So let's just bring our condition levers to max, or our props to max, not our condition levers. And that'll get some more drag in, and that'll make it easier for us to slow. And you see what it does? It shoots us up. What you really want to do is lock it into a vertical speed mode and slowly creep down on that. All right, so we're 6 miles away and we're 2,000 above. So we're a little bit high, but if we can reduce our ground track just a little bit, already at flight idle. I can't really bring out flaps just yet, but I will be able to in 1 second. Okay, we're 4.5 away, and we're 17 above. We're getting there. All right, so we're almost at our turn at Coeur d'Alene. And at Coeur d'Alene, we're going to be turning to 241, and then we're going to be making a slight turn to the left to intercept the localizer. So now we're at 8,400, and shame on me, but we need to fly, okay, all the way to Aztem at this same altitude. So in a second, what's going to happen is we will level off, we'll slow down. Okay, we're 1,000 away, and that will take, it will take care of itself. Okay, we're, you know, we're 700 above in the turn, so that's fine. All right, and you know, we've got a whole 19.7 miles to go, so I'm not going to get any flaps out at all. Matter of fact, I'll bring a little bit of power back in, and you'll notice what'll happen is, as we do this, our rate of descent will slow down. Well, it's already going to, because we're at our altitude, but so we trickle some power back in here. And actually, I'm going to bring it up to right about our approach power. And let's just see if the speeds will take care of themselves here. So there's the railroad on the way into town. Just a little bit nose high. Let's go on our flight plan right here. And you'll see we're 17 miles, actually 17 from, are we 17 from the field? Have I not activated my approach? Let's activate our approach. Don't want to. I've loaded the wrong transition. All right, so let's go direct to ASTEM. Damn it. I screwed that up. So we're going to turn to the right here. And ASTEM followed by DISA. That is correct. Our speed is fine. We'll pretend we just got vectored there. What I'd left in, it was in the procedure, I'd left in the vectors. Okay, approach is activated. It's in terminal phase there, and map is here, and there we go. All right, speed is good, and now it should be sequenced fine. Yes, ASTEM in 3, DISA in 7, and we can be at, what, 5,600 at DISA. Let's get that set, ready to go. And the way I'll come down to 5,600 is I will not roll off the power, but what I'll do is I'll put in a notch of flaps and see how that does. All right, so we're making the turn around ASTEM here. All right, let's start going down to DISA. So we'll go back into IAS mode, put out a notch of flaps, and we've got 7 miles till DISA, and we've got 1,500 feet. That is plenty of time. Let's see how we're doing. Coming down at about 500. We need to come down a little bit more, so I'm going to roll off a little bit of torque here. Square up our heading bug. All right. And actually, I do want to slow down a bit. No, you know what? It's fine. We're going to drop gear. We're going to get all draggy. We'll get all jiggy with it. No idea what that means. All right, so we're now coming down 700 feet per minute. We are 1,100 above. We're 1,000 above, so we should be about 3 miles away. And we're about 2.1 miles away, so we're just slightly high. Let's take a look. There's our localizer. No glide slope yet. Although we are inexplicably to the left, to the right of our localizer, which is interesting. Okay, there's Hansen. Well, you know, there it is. So, all right, we're at 160. We're coming towards Hansen. We can be at 4,300 there. Down we go. And what are we doing? What's the airplane doing? You know what? Let's just get into approach mode here and let us stop. Oh, it automatically switched. Oh, it automatically switched and it gave a jerk. All right, so it looks like we've got the approach, and that is fine, so we don't have to worry about our altitude. Actually, 5,500 was our missed. Oh, look at you. Are you going up? What are you doing? Airplane, you were being bad. All right, I'm going to have to do this myself, so let us take that out. Let us go gear down. We shouldn't be on altitude select. We should be on approach. It's not switching modes. We'll get rid of the flight director. We'll get rid of the flight director. We'll get rid of the flight director. There. And we'll just fly this visually. Damn it. All right, there's still a few bugs in the system here, but that's okay. get ourselves on raw data here on the glide slope. There we go. Put in a little bit of a slip here. It says we're on the glide slope, but our pappies off there say we're a little bit high. I'm going to duck below it for a second to slow down, retrim, regroup, change the 10 to 10-1s. We are geared down, and we're now final configuration. And it is indicating a little bit low on the glide slope. I'm just going to let our speed decay a bit more. Our torque is just a little bit low, and there is a lag. So I'm going to come nose up here. Get a good picture there. There we are. Okay, that's about the right speed. And that's the right picture. And there we go. Yeah, I'm going to disregard a glide slope here, as a matter of fact, so we don't get warnings. I'm just going to turn it off. There's our field. Do we want to use the shorter runway? I don't think so. Okay, we're just a little bit fast, and I'm a little bit out of trim, and I've got a little bit of the yips, so I'm just going to have to be careful here. Don't want to build more speed than I've got, and I've got too much speed right there. So let's let it decay. We'll get lined up. Okay, we're dropping down a little bit here. I'm going to bring up the nose, trim back a notch. There we are. Got a little bit of a tailwind. A little bit mushy. There we are. And there we are. A little bit of a smacker. It's a short runway. Watch this. Into beta. And on the brakes. There we go. And welcome to Feltz Field. Flared a little bit late, you'll see in the replay. And let's see if we have a taxiway here. We have an unsuitable taxiway here, but get our tiller in, get our landing lights off. See if we can make this work. Of course we can. That's how good we are. Where can we park? This used to be the main airport for Spokane back in the day, and the real terminal, which is not really replicated here but is in the Orbix version, which I hope will be coming one day soon, is sort of a masterpiece of Depression era granite architecture. It's very pretty, actually. It is very nice. And well, they got the Union 76 thing right. The tower is Lego bricks there, as you can see, but whoever did this, and I wish I'd looked it up so I could give him or her credit, did a pretty creditable job. So we'll we'll just pull up at what used to be the terminal. Actually, to be authentic, we should just fly a DC-3 in here. That would be something. Okay, the road next to the airport's in the right place. The warehouses are in the right place. All right, so there's the old terminal. Actually, that's not a horrible job. It's got the clock there. It's pretty cool. I have only been to Spokane once, but my grandpa Sidney was stationed here during World War II, and I've seen some pictures of it. And make sure the parking brake is on there. Yes, I'm wearing his wristwatch. He bought an Omega wristwatch in 1947 when he got out of the service and treated himself, and he took good care of it and gave it to my uncle, and then my uncle died a few years back, and I ended up with it, and it still runs like a Swiss watch. Anyway, let's take a look at that landing. It was perfect until I waited too late to flare because my picture was bad because I wasn't really paying much attention. Well, no, that's not really the case, but I just wasn't looking at things the right way, I guess you might say. All right, so let's see what it looked like from the tower. Okay, nice and stable, no big corrections. Little bit of side-to-side oscillation. There's no sound in these playbacks on this airplane, so all right, so let's see. Yeah, I rolled off the power is what I did. I was in the absolute perfect attitude, but rolled off the power. So here, let's just show you the problem. Oh, there is sound from there. Hey. Well, there's rolling sound. There is an engine sound. All right, so I'm in a very good landing attitude. That's just about ideal. But forgetting I'm in a turboprop, I rolled off the power, and you see we lost lift right there. Poof. And you also notice, to compensate for it haplessly, and I could have scraped the tail like this. Watch, I'll play it in slow motion. As I brought the power back, I tried to keep the picture in the window exactly the same, which is what you should do, but not when you're behind the power curve. So watch what happens here. So roll off the power and I start to sink, and then I instinctively try and keep the picture the same, and so I bring up the nose, and you'll see it come up in a second. And if I had done that anymore, I would have risked a tail scrape. I might have made a smoother landing, but I might have cost the airline tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So here, let me show you what I did here. So it's all well and good. We're all fine and dandy. And you see we're holding that picture. Now watch, roll off the power about there. You see, here comes the sink, and up comes the nose to try and catch it, and by then it's really too late. And down we go. And that's also, see, a little bounce, and a little bounce with the nose wheel here. Now let's see what that looked like from the cockpit, because there are lessons to be learned. So there we go. Let's come on up. Bosh is. All right. So down we go. Oh shit, hold on, I've turned my avionics off. I wonder if I can't turn them back on again. No, I probably can't. So you can't really get the full picture here. Let's see, our engine instruments are on. So watch, when we do that little sync, you'll see me roll off the power here. So let's see if we can capture that. Turn this off. That's just spurious in the replay. All right. So again, pappies are, as they say, happy. Although I don't think they're right. You can see we're at a little bit, well, all right. So there we are. We're over the numbers. And then you see, right there, roll off the power too soon. And I pull up the nose to try and save it. And in the meantime, I waste so much time and effort, I'm actually almost out of runway. Now, there are two ways I could have done it. I could have kept the power on just a little bit longer and approached at a slightly slower speed. And if I'd done that, we would have been approaching at a slightly more nose-high attitude. But I think we had probably an extra 5 knots to play with. And so what we would have done is we would have brought up the nose a little bit, and actually if we wanted to, we came in with flaps 25, which is normal. If you come in with flaps 35, it is so draggy that it's very difficult to make it work. It just makes it really rough. We could have come in 5 knots slower with this power setting, or just slightly below it. And then we could have held that power until we touched the main gear. That would be one way to do it. The other way to do it, I suppose, would have been to hold a little bit more power on, just period, and just accepted the slightly longer roll. But it's only a 5,000-foot runway, so the trick is to plant it in the touchdown zone. Let's see where we got it. Let's see where we hit. Ideally, we want to stick it right about there. That's about the middle of the range. All right, let's see. Jesus, we're just right over the numbers. In a bigger plane, you'd be about 50 feet over the numbers, but that's fine where we are. And nope, hang on. There we go, right there. Bim, and let's see where we are. That's pretty damn right. That is just about where you want to be, unless you're doing a crazy ass short field landing. All right, actually, let's see it from there. That's a pretty damn good angle. All right, let's see what that looks like. That's the helicopter shot here. You know, other than that drop at the last minute, it's hard to argue with that. That looks pretty damn nice. Look at that. See right there. Plunk, bounce, plunk, and down we go. It wasn't enough to damage the plane, but it's enough to wound our pride. And of course, just for one last good measure, let's do the old Hawaii 5-0 shot. You know what? That looks just fine. Damn it. So close. So close. God, we couldn't get any more stable than that. Well, you know, it's one thing to say that. It's another thing to actually grease the landing. Or at least do it at around 100 feet per minute would be just about right for commercial standard. Ooh. Yep. All right. Well, with that, let's just leave you there. I'll take you into the gate here. Get some of that PBR goodness, although I always thought that PBR stood for Pabst Blue Ribbon, which would be a fine thing to put in any simulator, actually. Can you imagine that? X-Plane now with Pabst Blue Ribbon. That would be deeply awesome. And on that deeply awesome note, thank you, John Fly, for getting me off my lazy ass to do this. And thank you all for watching. Hope you learned something. Hope you liked it. And in any case, I'll keep making them, so I'll see you next time. And I'm going to work on improving my Garmin procedures here and my otherwise instrument procedures, and see if we can do it right next time. And have a good week, everyone. Bye-bye.